WMRY. I think it was what was called Robert E. Lee Park, but now it's called that. They changed the name due to today's political correctness. To me, it's overcorrectness. When you begin changing names, that's overcorrect. But these days, what does one do? I think we're being too correct when we begin changing names and taking monuments down. That stuff's all in the past. We must get over it. Anyway, on with the show. Today we're here for some railroad history, but also I'll give a brief history of Baltimore's water supply as it began right here. And this is Lake Roland Dam, with Lake Roland itself out of sight behind the dam, which we'll soon see. This is Baltimore's first water supply, built in the mid-1800s. Got the gatehouse up there, which I've been inside of, and I will show you. And now by the gatehouse, as you can see, built at the start of the Civil War, 1861. But then Baltimore was mostly outhouses, and of course these wells for water, and the outhouses would contaminate the wells. Something had to be done to avoid the cholera epidemic, so this is what they did. At the time, one of the most ambitious waterworks projects in the whole USA, if not the most ambitious for that period of time. Now on the north side, looking north on Lake Roland. Baltimore's water supply until 1913. And this direction is the dam itself. A lot quieter up here above the dam. And again, the gatehouse. Inside those louvers, one hears water rushing through, cascading through something or other. Actually, there are conduits beneath the floor and grates to let you get down to those conduits. And folks have to climb down there once in a while to clean them out. It's a spooky process. I was inside there once and uploaded a video of it. But to avoid you having to watch that video, here are some scenes from that visit. We were inside there.
Now inside the gatehouse, that's incredibly noisy from all the water from yesterday's rain. relieving water pressure. A bit quieter now, but still a lot of water going through.
And that's your gatehouse interior here at Lake Roland, originally known as Roland Lake. The dam is situated on Jones Falls, which continues down below the dam, south towards Baltimore's Inner Harbor. There's also a nature center here, which I've taken you inside of in the previous video. A lot of interpretive displays inside there. Now inside with a painted turtle. Which Dolly was befriending for a while. Behold the turtle. Only makes progress when he sticks his neck out. But even then, not much. We have lots of herptiles here. Reptiles and amphibians. Yeah, check him out. Oh, I like that owl up there. Are they really all that wise? Yeah, if ever you're around, pop in for a visit. Okay, back to the real thing, back to real nature. Of course, we come here for another reason as well. This. Baltimore's light rail system, running on the historic Northern Central Rail line. After they built this, Baltimore began growing due to having fresh water at this point. And as a result, by the late 1800s, this became insufficient to supply Baltimore with fresh water. And so by 1888, they had to build another dam further out. In that case, they built a dam on the Gunpowder River, not the Jones Falls anymore. In 1888, they built what we now call Loch Raven Dam. So there are two Loch Raven dams, a small one, the 1888 one, and a big one built in 1912 to supplant that one just a few years later. Obviously, Baltimore began expanding really fast at that point, at the turn of the last century. And Loch Raven Dam number 2 had to be raised in 1922 for the same reason, exploding population. And in 1913, this dam got decommissioned and is no longer water supply. People do fish in the lake, but there's a fish advisory. You can fish, but you can't eat the fish, so why bother? And after that, both Loch Raven dams got supplanted. In 1932 came Pretty Boy Dam and Reservoir, which I showed you before. In 1948 came Liberty Dam and Reservoir. That's the last one, 1948. Baltimore is still growing. But no new dams though, no new reservoirs. And in 1942, this became Robert E. Lee Park, and stayed that way until the age of political correctness. What a shame. The one-time Greenspring Branch. We'll see those trees over there. But before heading over to it, a little bit of background on the main line might be in good order. Looking south towards the city and north towards the crossing of Lake Roland, which is on both sides of the crossing at this point. It's there, and it's over there. For the 1860s, that was a sizable lake for water supply. Double track now, and double track originally, but became single track in the early 60s. And here's how it looked. And looking south, it once looked like this. Only freight ran back then. The Greenspring Branch once bore off where the curve is way down there, then bore to the west in this direction. Now covered up. And over here was the site of the one-time Hollins Station. When the line was first built, it was known as Relay Station. Same as the relay on the B&O, where they first changed horses. This line began as the Baltimore Susquehanna, originally, chartered 1832. When the B&O had their big parade in 1828 to announce their construction, or the beginning of their construction, bringing up the rear of the parade were the directors for this line, the Baltimore Susquehanna. The B&O would go west, and the Baltimore Susquehanna would go north. The B&S wanted to go as far as Harrisburg, PA, on Susquehanna to tap goods to bring to Baltimore. But PA wouldn't have it, and they said, no go, you can't come into our state. So much for the B&S's plans. So the B&S said, if we can't go north, we'll go west too, just like the B&O. If we can't go that way, we'll just go this way, to the west. No stopping us now. We'll go west by way of Westminster. The B&O went west by way of Frederick. As mentioned, this is the one-time location of Hollins Station, first called Relay House, because when the line still used horses, this is the first place they changed horses. As I said, just like Relay on the B&O. Here's how it looked back when it existed, from the opposite direction. I believe it got torn down in the mid-1930s. They should replace it and make it a visitor center here, or interpretive center for the railroad. Now watch, they'll do it, but I won't get the credit for it. That's because I didn't tell anybody. Maybe I better. It's hard to believe a couple of tracks once shot through there, but they did. I would be looking back towards the main line, if you could see the main line. And not the spot where the Greenspring Branch would have emerged. But of course, originally it wasn't a branch, it was a main line, because Pennsylvania wouldn't let the people in, wouldn't let the B&S in. say they went north, rather northwest this direction. Do a little panning here. And went that way on their trek west. But when they got as far as Owings Mills, the state of PA relented and said, "Okay guys, come on up, we'll let you in." And construction ceased at Owings Mills, and this dead ended. And the main line to the north continued on from where I just was. And the rest is history. Now at the point where the track begins on this line, about a quarter mile of track still left. Because at one time the Baltimore Streetcar Museum was going to locate here, but due to neighbors and their opposition, they had to move to where they are now at Falls Road. In fact, at one time, there was a small classification yard in this spot. I was going to get that out. There was a track there, and 2, maybe 3 more over here, in this big wide area, in this cut. Now you wouldn't know it, but there was a small yard here at one time. Now reclaimed by nature. And again the track, with Lake Roland directly behind. The last train to run here was 1962, as far as a quarry that still operated until that day. I guess the last thing to run here would have been a couple of EMD Jeeps in the 30 series, because I don't think SDs existed yet. But at one time there was a yard here. Eventually the 3 tracks became one. Nowadays folks come here to do their artwork, but I can't figure it out. There it is. It proves obviously that art is subjective, doesn't it? After the B&S got permission to enter Pennsylvania, this got downgraded to a branch line at that point. But didn't stay branch very long. Because in 1852, another line got chartered. The Baltimore, Carroll, and Frederick Railroad. Later renamed Western Maryland Railroad. No more trivia there for you. But then years later reorganized as Western Maryland Railway. Slight name change there. And again, the rest is history. To get a jump start on things, the Western Maryland began building from where the B&S left off in Owings Mills, where this track that ended when the B&S got permission to go north to PA. And of course they had to pay the B&S trackage rights to use their line as far as Relay House there, where Hollins Station would have been where I showed you. But after a point they got tired of paying for trackage rights and put their own line to Owings Mills and gave this back to the Central, Northern Central, which it was at the time. A little further up the line now. In fact, it was in the 1850s when the Baltimore Susquehanna got reorganized as the Northern Central Railway, and stayed that way until the mighty Pennsylvania took over controlling interest. Now at the point where the right-of-way begins narrowing down, not as big of a cut here anymore as behind me where we were. Here the 3 tracks gradually become one. After Western Maryland gave this back to the Northern Central, it was operated sporadically for a while, for local freights and a little bit of passenger service. And now at the point where the line begins curving northwest towards Owings Mills. Nope, can't bring a train through here anymore, can we? And also at this point, we begin bearing away from Lake Roland, gradually. If the last train was 1962, look what's happened since then. A lot of washouts. Bring a train through here now, you wind up in what's left of Lake Roland. And now at the point where the rails end, here's looking back on the branch from where I came. Still an occasional cross tie though. Looking down there, one sees Lake Roland gradually petering out. Must have been a very scenic ride along here when the train still ran. We had passenger service along here. After a point, they didn't need full-fledged trains, so they just used motor cars to bring people through here. But it must have been a scenic ride. Here's what one of those motor cars looked like when it still ran. And the last one of those to come here would have been 1933, the end of passenger service. Still would have been an incredibly scenic ride with the lake down there, or what's left of it at this point. The park refers to this as the Red Trail, rather than by its proper name, the Greenspring Branch. But when I told Google about it and gave Google pictures to print, they put it on a map and they kept my name, the Greenspring Branch, instead of using the park's name. So there you go. I have clout with Google. They used my name instead of theirs, because my name's the proper name. A bit more narrow here. Probably down to one track by now. And at a point where another trail bears off. Something called the Yellow Trail bears off in this direction. An alternate route to the main trail, to the rail trail. Up the hill there and to the left. But of course, I'm staying down here with the railroad. I can't help it. I think it's so cool that Google kept my name. That's great. They give it the proper name. Good enough for me. And I made them do it. But again, a very wide cut here. Could have been storage tracks here, because back in '62, this is as far as the line ran. The last business to be served was a copper mine, and I believe ran here somewhere where the hoppers stopped to load up. Also of interest, in the early 1900s, when they were reconstructing the B&P tunnel to the west of Penn Station in Baltimore, the trains were rerouted over this line, and then down to Western Maryland, and back to the Northeast Corridor. So this played a part in the Northeast Corridor. There is a tie-in, there's a connection. And in the 1930s, this line got downgraded from Greenspring Branch to Greenspring Secondary. How about that? Another secondary. And here beneath the line, an historic culvert. Not many of them left. But again, at risk of repetition, art is definitely suggestive. What is that supposed to be? Oh dear. A little bit of nature for you. See you. But up here, a beautiful shaded straightaway, very nice, and a bit cool on this 84-degree day. And still lots of shade as you continue curving to the west. And lots of cross ties too, apparently, as well, left over. Old milepost there. 7 miles to Hollins Mills to the west. And 1 mile back to the park. I've come a mile already. The line continues straight through there where those trees are, but our trail parallels to the left a bit. The right-of-way is right there, paralleling. But up here, our trail's right back on it. And up ahead, our crossing of Jones Falls. Back in 2012 and 2013, they rebuilt this bridge, made it wider. I got a photo of the original. It says Penn Central on it. We found out somebody just put that there as a joke. Penn Central never saw this line. It stopped running in 63, and Penn Central was formed in 68, so 5 years too soon. Facing almost due west at this point, but there are a few more curves to the northwest and then back to the west on its way to Hollins Mills. And again the Jones Falls, on which the dam is situated. But at this point, Lake Roland has long ended. And looking back east over the bridge, I'm not sure if the compass direction on the railroad, the timetable direction would have been north-south or east-west to Hollins Mills. If I had to guess, I'd say east-west, because Hollins Mills is west. And by the way, my photo of the original bridge is also available on Google Maps. Just go to Google Maps and click Greenspring Branch, and it'll be there along with other photos of mine of this branch. Other folks took pictures too, but I was the first to upload. But nowadays, most folks do that here. I prefer a bike, less impact. Here's how the bridge looks these days after its reconstruction. And the Penn Central symbol is still there at the very end. As I said, it took a while for folks to figure out how that got there, because Penn Central was still in the future when that was placed there. But a kid and his dad put that there as a joke back in the early 60s after abandonment. Interesting joke. Some reports say the line lasts around in 62, some say 63. But either way, before Penn Central. Time to continue on. Got some dips due to erosion. Of course, the line couldn't have been graded like that, or else it'd been a very bumpy ride. It's not getting a train derailed. But again, the wrong name. And again, a shady stretch here. Much appreciated on hot days. As you pass behind some neighborhoods. But back when the line ran, there was no suburbia yet. And at this point, we begin curving to the north. Might be some shade now. But one must bear in mind that when the line ran, This is all out in the open. No trees yet. All out in the open at the time. All this stuff grew up since abandonment. Would have been a very pretty ride looking like this back then. The trees were here at the time, but they weren't. It was all still cleared out. But would have made a pretty ride if they'd have had it like this. How else can I say that? Don't know if you can tell, but to the right there's a bit of a basin, one could say. A basin-like area that fills up with water. Then in wintertime freezes over. And when it freezes, it looks really picturesque with the ice. Right down there somewhere. We have a slight dip there in the right-of-way. My assumption is a little culvert used to be there that got washed away or torn out and replaced or something like that. And that's why the dip. Also, lots of nice rock outcroppings along here, which during the winter can be very picturesque. If you can hear traffic noise, it's Falls Road to the left, to the west, right through there. All right, onward. More rocks there, but up ahead, more unevenness. Another uneven spot in the right-of-way. But it could be just simple erosion, nothing more than that. When they ran the trains to the copper factory behind us, the copper mine, that ran until 62 or 3, they embargoed this part of the line about 10 years before that. So this was abandoned before the part to the copper mine, and hence more time to erode. But up here, got a serious dip in the right-of-way. In a wide area here where there could have been a coaling station or whatever. Trying to figure out why it's so wide here, and why the dip up here. And at the bottom of the dip, complete with footbridge there. Let's look at a really wide area here. Maybe we tried to take a long swing around that dip and came around there instead, and then back down to here and rejoined up ahead. Hard to tell at this point. Too much erosion. And Mother Nature messed it all up. Gee, thanks. Could have been a grade there, and then up the top of the dip there, it connects to the path again. A bit confusing even for me right now. But up there things seem normal again in the right-of-way. Here's how it looks looking back. And again, the wide area that I can't figure out. Coaling station, a couple of sidings maybe. What could have been that nice wide area there? Or did the track run there and avoid the dip? Who knows? But I'm trying to figure it out for you. Alright, let's get back north again. But that gravel tells us the track was right here, in the path of the dips. So I guess erosion must have done its thing. And up around the bend, the line starts paralleling Falls Road. Against a regrading here, or erosion, because some of the track cut to the level of Falls Road and paralleled around the bend up there for a bit before going off on its own again. The track would have been by the side of the road at one time. The cars parked on top of it where the track would have been. Gone up here. Before 83 got put in, it would have gone around the curve and gone off on its own way. And I'm on the former Old Court Road in Baltimore County, where there was a crossing of the line at one time, right up here. A couple leftover rails in the crossing here for you. South is that way. Again, going over. Nature took this part of it again. Looking north. Almost the same thing. But got a clearing over here, the driveway. Maybe on part of the right of way itself. Hard to tell, they don't line up. The former crossing here of Old Court Road. I believe that's used in the late 40s, early 50s. Back on Falls Road. There was a crossing up here as well at the intersection. Just past the intersection. The track would have come out of right there. Crossing onto the left. But there's no train station left over there. Can't see through the trees though. Oh, there we go. Maybe you turn and try again. That would have been Brooklynville Station over there. Somewhere. Right there. Again, the crossing. As I turned around again, we'll try one more attempt at getting Brooklynville Station. Now residents. How about a web photo of it? The line parallels down there in the woods. Of course, invisible at this point. Thanks to the growth. You can almost make it out there. Up ahead's in place. One more station, supposedly. But first, here's Greenspring Avenue. And the former crossing here at Greenspring Avenue. You've got a rail there, and some over here paved over, facing west, but grown over at that point. And behind me to the east, equally grown over. Hard to believe a track once run through there. Every now and then, bits and pieces of the line pop up on the right, but at this point almost obliterated by nature and mankind. I guess nature and mankind don't care about abandoned railroads in history. What can I say? Although we were stopped at Greenspring Avenue, the line was named after the Greenspring Valley that it passes through. To our right, about half a mile to the north. And so was the road, actually. Approaching Stevenson Road, which brings us to Stevenson Station. And these days, that's what it is. Of course, no longer a train station, no longer a track behind it. Let's go have a look. This is trackside, but obviously a lot of changes have taken place here. Where the track would be, there is now a fence and some greenery. And over the right-of-way there in the distance to the west, it's been built over. So, obviously, this can't serve as a railroad any longer. So you see what appears to be a grate there, appears to be the proper height for this train station. But as said, to the east, the ground's a bit lower, considerably lower. So, I guess when they changed this around, they regraded a few things and obliterated the right-of-way. Could that hump there, just beyond the fence, be part of the grade? Looks like half the width of a full grade. But that's all that's left. And panning back east, definitely been some changes here. This station is high up on a grade, up on a fill. But the ground on there is about 10 feet lower than the station. Either the ground got lowered or the station got raised. Wonder which. Stevenson Station, one of the last two left on the Greenspring Branch. Or should I say, Greenspring Secondary. Anyway, in the distance, the Greenspring Valley. The station was built in 1925, but in 1933, passenger service ceased. Only got used by passengers for 8 years, and that was it. Worth the money to build it? And now it's on Greenspring Valley Road, aptly named. And south on Park Heights Avenue, hoping to come to one more crossing, or should I say former crossing. Someplace ahead, the line would have to cross this road. And I'll try to find the spot. At one time, one could still see some rails in the road, but that was 35 years ago. Made a U-turn to try again. I believe the line would have crossed where the road flattens out down here someplace, but of course now obliterated and hard to pick out. But somewhere around here that road would have crossed. Railroad rather, excuse me. Wrong terminology. Up here looks more like it though. But as I said, having been wiped out over 60 years ago, tough to tell. And back on Greenspring Valley Road. Hopefully, this curve to the south will take me back to the line or within proximity of it. I know how to find out. It might be right up there someplace. Yeah, keep the video going just in case I come to it. Yep, crossed right up here someplace, I believe. Came out of there, then went that way. I think part of the road's built on it. But still, Wish I was doing that. I just wouldn't do it on this road. I'd prefer the C&O Canal or a bike path or something. I guess I'm no longer a road frog. Whatever. This is Garrison Forest Road. There should be one more crossing up here. Is that it? Marked by those orange cones? If it is, that's convenient. Probably would have come out of there and gone that way. That's built on it. Or part of it. Not a golf course. Yep, that was it. We don't need trains, we need golf. Now north on Reisterstown Road. And almost at the end of the branch. There was a wide track here at one time, leading both south and north on the Western Maryland line. Long removed, but would have cut across a pier someplace, now long built over. One leg of the Y anyway, the southbound leg. I think northbound leg has a road built on top of it. I'll go have a look. Now behind some homes, but the row of trees there so the line would have run. The part of the lake that went north on the Western Maryland, that is. On the row of trees is the right of way. Would have come along here across Reisterstown Road and gone through there before they built the shopping center and the car dealership. Then connect to the Western Maryland and back north on Reisterstown Road. This way I can show you where the Western Maryland line crosses over this road from left to right on its way north. Now of course CSX. Going north, it passes through Boring, which I've shown you before. But that's your Greenspring Branch history. The Greenspring Branch, born 1832, died 1963. I'd love a lifespan like that, wouldn't you? Entering the road's namesake, Reisterstown. Formerly 2 words. Now on a different road and passing through historic Glendon. A place once reachable by streetcar or train. But neither one runs today. A few freights, but no more streetcars. This road should get us back to the Greenspring Valley and to the one-time rail line by that name. This road had a different name when I first turned onto it, but now it says Greenspring Avenue again. So back to the road I saw earlier. A part of the Greenspring Avenue we didn't see before, and I haven't seen in 35 years. I'm not passing through a place called Caves, but I think it's just a name. Not really any caves around here. And back on Greenspring Valley Road, heading the other way this time, east. Through the valley. But we see a lot of cool stuff in this video. Against Stevenson Station. And again, the line's down there somewhere. As we parallel it, there it's almost obvious, or it was. We've also seen Brooklynville Station, the former crossing of Old Court Road. where the track once paralleled Falls Road, which we're on now, would have been right there. Then it's into the woods on its own, right up here. Which brings us right back where we started, and where Baltimore's water supply also started. If ever you have time yourself, come check it all out yourself. Some nice stuff here. Lots of stuff to do here, including this. Yeah, one more time. There's your history of Baltimore's water supply and of 2 railroads in one convenient video. So, here's hoping you enjoyed viewing and maybe even learned a few things you didn't know. Alright, stay tuned for more to come. Your history of the Greenspring Branch from your bullfrog.